Hello and welcome back, my friends. On the last video, I talked a little bit about how some of the efforts that you might put in towards your spiritual growth may actually be taking you farther away from whatever your end goal is, because for a lot of people in the spiritual community, the idea is to become enlightened or to reach an awakening, which is a complete shift in consciousness. So anything that you do to improve yourself spiritually, to bolster the individual self, is actually taking you in the opposite direction. Many people that are, matter of fact, almost everyone who is actually has passed through that shift in non-duality and is enlightened will tell you that you are exactly as you are to be. There's nothing wrong with pursuing a spiritual practice if that's something that you really enjoy doing, something you want to follow, but it's not necessary to cross over to that shift of non-duality and enlightenment simply because you don't have any control over that. Now, this is kind of a depressing news for a lot of people who are really keen on becoming enlightened, because for a couple of reasons. One is that not that many people have done it in the past. And part of that, I think, is because, number one, it really requires a completely different mindset than 90% of us or 99% of us have, which is looking at the world through our individual selves and our individual eyes. Very hard to make that shift when your whole life you have been conditioned and formed to look at things a certain way, and everybody agrees with that way. It's just like our language. We're able to speak language because we all agree that this means that and this means that. In this lifetime, in this dimension, everything is built in opposites. There is no good without bad. There's no up without down. Everything is opposites. And what that creates is a situation where you're categorizing a lot of things. Is this in that category? Is that in this category? Well, as you well may know, categories don't really work that well, because any generalization is, number one, cutting you off to the actual circumstances right in front of you right now. Because you're deciding on it or putting in a box or a category based on something that happened in the past. Well, it's not the past, and it's happening fresh now. And any decisions that you make on this particular instance based on what happened before is not really true. Oh, and real quick before I get into the point of this video, I am going to put in the comments some links to people that I listen to, non-duality speakers who I believe are enlightened. And mind you, it's non-duality, so it's a fairly non-compromising message. But you'll notice that even though they try to express these things to us in different ways, there is a running theme there. And one of the themes, and this is where I'm getting to the point here, one of the themes is that you can't, as a separate individual, because you're not a separate individual, make that shift. So what do you do? Well, they would probably tell you and will tell you there's nothing you can do. The best I think that you could do is recognize what that would look like and try to live in accordance. And what I mean by that is, one of the biggest running themes throughout everything in non-duality is that because we are one single streaming consciousness that streams through everything, that consciousness allows everything. And that means when here we are in this plane looking at good and bad and up and down and all these comparisons, they're all part of the everything. Your struggle with problems that you have is part of that too. So, anything that you're doing that makes you happy or makes you feel sad, or your emotions or any physical ailments, this is part of everything. And so the only problem that we have in our condition is that we accept certain things and we resist other things. And by resisting, I mean we will take something we don't like and we'll ignore it or set it aside or move on to something else that we do like. Basically not facing the reality that everything does exist. So what this comes down to is complete acceptance of everything. You have to think of yourself, I guess, in terms of if you're picture something on Netflix or something. It's a streaming movie or something that's going on. You don't know what's going on in the next frame, and we're very much in the same boat. We don't know what's going to happen next. As much as we try to control stuff around us, that is really an illusory control, because what's going to happen is going to happen. So it's a matter of accepting that when you came into this lifetime, you were programmed in a certain way from your youth, and your design as a human being is to function the way that you're functioning. So if that means that at some point in your life you decide to take a spiritual path or learn more about something, then you'll do that. If some point in your life you become literally enlightened and you make that shift, that was meant to happen in your lifetime. That's going to happen regardless of what you do or don't do. I know I mentioned in one of my earlier videos about David Karse. He was not educated on any of this stuff. I mean, he was very much involved in Roman Catholicism in an early age, but he after he left that, he did a little bit digging around in the spiritual world. But when it came time and he actually crossed over to that new spectrum of existence, he was not at all prepared for him. He had no idea what was going on. And so it's not like you can do something to make this happen. So that being the case, once it does happen, the key idea of it is living in the idea that you need to be able to accept everything. And that means being completely open to things that happen. We are humans. We are subject to things that are unpleasant and things that are pleasant. And we need to accept both of them equally. And I know that that sounds like a very difficult task. But one of the things that you'll hear a lot of people like Teal Swan, who talks a lot about how we, move through our lives in this dimension, not as an enlightened person, but in this dimension, one of the ways that we accept things is that we face them head on. We don't resist them. We don't put them away. We really take a look at them and we see what's going on with that, and why am I triggered by that, or why am I trying to get this away from me, when in fact a lot of the things that come to you that are unpleasant at first, once you embrace them and once you accept them and once you take them in, they very quickly dissipate. And the next time that happens, it's to a much lesser degree as to how it affects you in a negative way, because you have learned to accept that, and you've learned to accept that these things happen. This is part of life. It's ebbs and flows. So bottom line here is, if you cannot do anything about getting yourself to a place of living as a completely self-aware, what's the good term for it? Fully realized, enlightened person, you may as well, if you're interested in that, you may as well try to live in that space where you're able to accept everything that comes as it comes, and that includes illness, and that includes even your own death. And the more exploration you do in these things, you find that most of the people who have had near-death experiences talk about them in a very positive fashion. I think most of us are not really afraid of moving on to another dimension or having our physical bodies die. We're more concerned about the pain that might be involved in that. But even in that case, a lot of scientists say that yes, there is maybe pain up to the place where you're going to check out, but then there's sort of a piece there that happens that helps you through that transition. So that's a fear that's pretty unwarranted, and let's face it, you're going to live for so many days, you're only going to die for 1 minute. So once again, something to accept. So this is just my opinion on this stuff. Like I said, I've kind of avoided having a lot of opinions about a lot of things because I think that they pigeonhole you into reacting the same way you've reacted before, because that's what worked for me at that time when this came up. But you need to be open to everything like it's happened the first time and it's brand new, and you're going to face it, accept it, and see where that takes you. Okay, so I will put those links in. I would encourage you, if you're interested at all in the idea of being a fully realized person, to listen to some of these speakers who have actually crossed over and are looking at things from a completely different perspective. Understand that our language does not really allow for them to describe this stuff as best they can. They can point to it, but they can't, the best you're going to get out of that is envisioning it. In other words, you listen to it, you hear it, you stop trying to store it with some mental capability, because it's not something that you can put in your storehouse of knowledge. It's something that you either resonate with and can envision or not. So anyway, at least you'll have the opportunity to listen to some of these folks that I really find fascinating, and I love listening to them. And if I believe in nothing in this world, I do believe in their experience and how life really needs to be viewed. So I hope this helps. Let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks for watching.